And what are we gonna do? Just like ride Bob into the sky?
Yes. Can you imagine Red Guardian riding on top of Sentry, cresting over the clouds?
This is why we are Avengers with the Z.
Marvel Rivals is home to such an interesting mix of both character choice and character kit design, but only one hero stands alone at top of it all. Or should I say together. Cloak and Dagger are the only duo characters in the game as of now, but if we wanted to bring that swap-in mechanic with the other roles and utilize this as a team-up character itself, I would say somebody like Sentry is the best choice, because as we all know...
I'm sorry, guys. Can't be the Sentry without the, other side. I did the dishes, though. And what do we...
Before we get into this kit design, I actually want to talk about Sentry's quite interesting backstory. Initially created by Artie Rosen and Stan Lee in 1961, the Sentry and his debut comic, Startling Stories #1, never made it to print, being forgotten about in a box until their discovery nearly 40 years later. Or at least, that's what his launch marketing would have you believe. Actually created by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee, Robert Bob Reynolds, or Sentry, first appeared in the self-titled Sentry #1 from 2000. A teen junkie, Bob stumbled upon an experimental formula called the Golden Sentry Serum, which granted him immeasurable superpowers like strength, flight, energy manipulation, photokinesis, and my personal favorite, power bestowal. Unfortunately, as a troubled man, Bob's fractured psyche was also empowered by the serum, manifesting as a dark entity known as the Void. This nemesis worked to counterbalance all of the good that Sentry ever did and ever does. But with the help of his allies Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Strange, Bob successfully erased the world's memory of Sentry, preventing the Void from resurfacing. For a time. Both the visual and general vibe that I get from Sentry absolutely scream tank to me if I'm being honest. In addition to the power set that I described earlier, Reynolds is nigh indestructible and has something called retroactive immortality, meaning that he cannot be permanently disposed of. While this would probably just be a fun canon explanation for his infinite respawns, Vanguard seems like the most fitting role regardless. When designing a character, mobility is inherently tied to survivability, and as the only permanently flying character I've designed, I want to make sure that I keep that health number in check, so right now the Sentry is clocking in at 600 max health. If we're going to make a complex duo/stance character, we should try to keep a few things relatively simple. Golden Sentry Swing is just that. A straightforward attack, these are outward punches akin to Hulk's Heavy Blow or the Thing's Rocky Jab, dealing modest damage. With the back-to-back release of Devil Dinosaur and Cyclops, beam attacks have been slowly growing in number, and the Sentry's photokinetic glare joins them. Dealing only decent damage, this attack's real impact comes from its ability to blind the enemies. After dealing enough damage to an enemy, they become blinded, reducing their visual range and preventing them from selecting, choosing, or targeting even their own allies with their own abilities, much like Cloak and Dagger's Dark Force Veil. By now, you're probably asking where Void's abilities are, but just like in my Mr. Sinister video, I think it's important to describe Sentry's passive, Molecular Sanity, first, as it helps put into perspective the other parts of his kit. Unlike Cloak and Dagger, these two are not willing partners. When Sentry deals damage or uses certain abilities, his sanity will drain. Upon losing all sanity, the Void takes over control, forcibly swapping out with Sentry and replacing his moveset with his own abilities and attacks. This is a resource that is meant to be heavily monitored, and the driving force behind Sentry's 5-star difficulty rating. Speaking of those different attacks, the Void's primary fire is Dark Void Volley. Similar to the Sentry's attack, this is a pretty basic punch, but has the added bonus effect of piercing projectiles, much like Ramatra's main attack from Overwatch while he's in his buffed up form. I wanted most of the Void's abilities to be kind of dark mirrors to the Sentry's. Umbra Kinetic Lure is the Void's version of this secondary attack. Replacing the eventual blind effect with a 20% damage vulnerability, this is a little bit more impactful in a team setting, providing more opportunities for both your team or the Void to get eliminations. Although this passive ability forces you to swap characters, you can still do so on command. Looking back at Sentry's abilities, Impending Gloom allows you to swap out into the Void on command, even granting you an amount of bonus health based on your remaining sanity when you do so. The Void's version of this ability, called Exploding Sun, grants you a long-lasting movement boost based on that remaining sanity. Tying this back into his high difficulty rating, you want to manage this ability very carefully, as in order to get maximum value, you have to know what your current sanity level is at. Combined with a 10 to 12 second cooldown, this ability is not one to be used recklessly, as it's very important that you have the right character's abilities at the right time. Retroactive Protection. Sentry supposedly has the power of 1 million exploding suns, so some sort of explosive AoE knockback is pretty reasonable to me. In a large area around him, Sentry will let out a huge burst of energy, knocking back foes a large amount and granting surrounding allies a massive 50% damage reduction for a couple seconds. Providing a high level of utility and protection is incredibly important in a game like this, especially in the Vanguard role, so Sentry essentially being able to face tank an Iron Man ult is pretty useful. Where the Sentry protects, the Void controls. Possessive Domination replaces retroactive protection to emit a lurching shadow that absorbs all the damage taken in its path and stuns the first enemy it hits. Operating as somewhat of an in-between of Phoenix's stun and Squirrel Girl's squirrel blockade, this ability is much more fitting for more of a villainous force. Energy Inducement is the only ability to stay the same in both forms. Pretty similar to Black Cat's Phantom Pursuit, Sentry or the Void become invincible during this attack to deal a cinematic amount of damage. Only targeting the enemies in front of them, this ability's damage is based entirely off of your character's remaining or missing sanity, pivoting the strength of Black Cat's attack away from this guaranteed damage and into a guaranteed survivability button. In the comics, Sentry has canonically teamed up with practically every hero you could think of, being a previous ally to the X-Men and Spider-Man, and even being a friend to the Lonely Hulk. But you don't remember that. And neither does the Marvel Universe. Practically ripping off the plot of the original Sentry book, Spider-Man No Way Home probably describes it best. Doctor Strange has cast a spell to make everyone forget that the Sentry was ever a hero. In Marvel Rivals, this manifests as an extra way to change forms. On top of swapping characters, the team-up also provides the Sentry with the maximum amount of benefits you'd receive as if you had perfectly timed your swap before, gaining that bonus health and movement boost on both versions of the character, Sentry or Void. Two forms means two ults. While I originally only had a single version of the ultimate ability, I thought splitting these off would be a bit more thematic. Sentry's version of the ultimate is called Quintessential Power, and allows him to share his power to all of his teammates. He's done this a couple different times, most notably with his sidekick Scout, which effectively gave him similar yet weaker versions of the Sentry's powers. In Marvel Rivals, this ability effectively doubles his allies' health and cleanses them, providing a huge boost of survivability, functioning in between Captain America's ult and, I guess, mostly like Captain America's ult. I couldn't find a better comparison. Sorry. The Void's version of the ultimate ability is much different. Some could even argue the exact opposite. Guys, I promise, I looked up what this word said and I know what it means. I can't pronounce it though. Just give me a second here.
Contumelious.
Contumelious Debility. Enemies in the small surrounding range of the Void are continuously and dramatically slowed, probably to somewhere around 10%. In addition, their maximum health is also chopped off by 10%, providing a lot of potential for eliminations. Now, I don't know if these ultimate abilities are entirely equal, but I'll let you guys say what your opinions are on if I really need to buff the Sentries, because I can tell that this one might be a little bit stronger, or at least might be used more often. In terms of skins and potential costumes that Sentry could have, there isn't a whole lot of variety in the comics, but that does mean that there's a lot of potential for original ideas. Having this duo character might mean that it's more work to get a skin, but that also means you probably get a lot of cool ideas for your design. I mean, just spitballing, I would love a ketchup and mustard Halloween costume suit for them. But if you are going to pull from the comics, your recolor would probably be the classic Dark Sentry look when he merged with the Void. A more complex one, I would like that original suit that he wears in his debut. Normal sweat clothes with a clothesline cape attached to his back. The design you've been looking at for most of this video was drawn by Santiago Cuervo, who goes by Nova online. I'll link both his Instagrams so that you can check it out. He is a really good artist. I really like the way that this looks, although the Void is a bit more MCU inspired than I would prefer. I think if you just add a little bit of the Twins of Red in there, it would be absolutely perfect. But, I mean, look at this thing. This is as good as it's gonna get, man. I would say that this design for Sentry is definitely both simple and complex. Having to manage your resources so that you aren't forcibly swapped out with your evil counterpart is incredibly evocative of the original storyline, and that was my main goal of the design. I think I also did a pretty decent job of giving Sentry and Void separate playstyle identities. Sentry is much more defensive and protective towards his teammates, and the Void is very much someone who provides opportunities for kills and eliminations to his teammates with his vulnerability and slow effects. So I am pretty proud of the design. If you guys have any thoughts or opinions on this design, please don't hesitate to share them in the comments. I love seeing your guys' support, especially when you guys pitch me your own character designs. Those are really fun to read through, even if they don't make it into a video or I do something completely different. Thank you so much for your support. I am really honestly blown away by all the support that I've gotten. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers, which is absolutely insane. I cannot thank you guys enough. But if you wanted to support me even more than you already do, which you absolutely don't have to, consider becoming a YouTube member. There's a bunch of cool benefits and you'll join a really cool group of Marvel allies. So thank you so much, and I'll see you all in the next video.